Thanks for coming, everyone. So I'm Mel and this is Kate, and we are the designers from the Victorian Government. So today we're going to take you through how we made our design system Ripple. So first, I'd like to start with an acknowledgement of country. So we're on the land of the Wurundjeri, Wurrung and Boon Wurrung peoples of the Kulin Nation. I wish to acknowledge them as the traditional owners and acknowledge all the lands you are from. I'd also like to pay my respects to elders past and present and any Aboriginal people who may be here today. I'd also like to acknowledge that sovereignty has never been ceded. It always was and always will be Aboriginal land. So a little about us. So we work on a publishing platform for the Victorian Government called Single Digital Presence, or SDP for short. SDP is about making it easier for citizens to find, understand and use Victorian Government information. So Ripple is the design system for the Victorian Government digital products. It's a system of reusable styles, components, patterns and tools for building our digital products, which increase the speed of delivery for our digital products and services. So before we get into it, we want to acknowledge the hard work of all the teams that contributed to this project. So we know it takes more than just a design team to get a design system built, and that designs can easily be forgotten in a folder without our hard-working teams.
So I'd like to set the scene for you and give you some context to how the Ripple 2 project came about, the types of issues we were facing and how a refactored design system would address them. So imagine you're running late home from work, you get in the door and you're starving, but you have no time to think about what to eat. You open the fridge and you find a recipe box meal you ordered last week. Using this, you're able to whip up a delicious meal quickly by following the step-by-step instructions with the pre-measured ingredients. The result is a satisfyingly delicious meal that fills you up with little effort. A design system is not too dissimilar from a recipe box meal. With Ripple, our design system, it's an easy way to cook up a Victorian Government branded digital experience with little effort. So why did we need to start our Ripple 2 project? Pretty simple, Ripple 1 was no longer fit for purpose. Since its launch in 2018, Ripple was iterated and updated to suit the changing needs of government, but without any change to its core language or architecture. The core principles of an atomic design system, so that's a system for the design of interfaces that takes all of the components and breaks them down into repeatable building blocks, had been lost. This was both from a UI design and a front-end development perspective. This led to a build-up of legacy design and technical debt, which increased the effort needed for feature delivery and increased time to market. This negatively affected the usability and the accessibility of our website content. STP also has an obligation to meet WCAG 2.1 AA standards, which had previously not been met. So in short, our recipe box was broken, the instructions were unclear and difficult to use, and the end result was varied. The food sometimes was not tasty. So how did we birth Ripple 2? We needed to completely refactor the design system, both from a design-led and a development-led perspective. This was in order to create a cohesive system that could be easily and quickly built upon. Today, we're going to take you through how we redesigned Ripple design system over a 24-month period to learn how we built a successful business case for the refactor of the design system, how we designed a flexible, scalable design system, and how we migrated over 50 websites from Ripple 1 to Ripple 2. So, the business case. Getting a big idea off the ground, especially in government, is all about relationships and executive support. So we needed to have senior leadership buy-in and for them to champion our project. We needed a solid business case so they could clearly understand the problems, the risks, and the benefits. Within our business case, the problems we identified and articulated were we were not able to scale SDP with our existing Ripple 1 product. The SDP roadmap featured a number of front-end heavy projects that can be completed over the next year. These projects would be put into jeopardy without a robust, modern, and optimized design system. Specifically, the risks were, with no action taken, we would invest a significant amount of time into front-end heavy features that would need to be refactored soon after completion. And this would be at a large cost to the program and delays for our customers. So what was the core benefit? As most things, it was saving time and money. Within our business case, we aligned the needs of the Ripple refactor with the needs of our organisation to show value and a financial benefit. We clearly outlined that by providing the necessary architectural and design base, we would not only save money and time, we would be able to implement large-scale improvements to our front end around our navigation, search, and branding alignment to meet key business milestones. So to get sign-off within our organisation, we had to find our champions. And through our solid business case, they helped us to convince others of our project. By using appropriate opportunities, we were able to continue to present our business case up the executive structure to gain support and ultimately sign off, which was a really big deal for us.
Perfect. So that brings us to the refactor. So a good recipe box has meals that people actually want to cook, so we needed to understand how we could improve our design system to deliver one that people really wanted. So we did this by conducting user research to get feedback via usability surveys, bug tickets, and user feedback. So this allowed us to document the key issues and areas of improvement that our users were really looking for. Then, with this feedback and the known issues, we created steps for a detailed project plan for the refactor. So our research also showed that we needed to allow for flexible theming as a core function of the design system to support the branding needs of the Victorian Government. With Ripple One originally being built for use on vic.gov only, theming was currently done completely custom on a component-by-component basis. So our process, steps, and documentation were detailed in Confluence and actioned via countless Jira tickets. So this ensured that we had a clear project plan with timelines to work towards. We ran fortnightly agile sprints to break down the work into more manageable chunks with firm deliverables. So this ensured we stayed motivated while working towards our goals. So, at its highest level, the refactor plan was focused on two areas: ensuring our design system meets and exceeds mandated standards for usability and accessibility, and re-architecturing our code base to set us up for major projects in the future. So by having a clear agenda and solid documentation and delivery process, it allowed us to ensure our designs and ideas were fit for purpose to fix the core issues, and we would stay on track creating the right recipe. So after the project planning phase, we moved into the design research phase and focused on base style alignment and the creation of design tokens. So the design audit of Ripple One showed that our base styles had lost all atomic principles with no consistency and multiple different styles being used for the same purpose across the system. So we knew we needed a way to fix this consistency problem, and enter design tokens. So design tokens store our design decisions that together make up the Ripple design system's visual style. Tokens apply value in a consistent, reusable, and scalable way. They ensure the same style values are used across design files and code. So aligning these base styles to a core and consistent set of tokens, we were able to set the foundations for building a consistent, atomic-based design system. So for example, you can see on the left here that with Ripple One, we had over 95 different type styles in use. And then on the right, through the refactor, in Ripple 2, we were able to reduce it down to around 20. So tokens are purpose-driven, which allow designers and developers to make system-wide updates focused on achieving specific purposes. So for example, systematically apply a high colour contrast scheme for improved visibility or changing the type scale. So tokens also allow a design system to implement features like global theming, responsive design, and user customization. So here you can see something as simple as an inline link uses tokens to create difference while remaining consistent to the surrounding text. So this ensures that body and link type will remain consistent regardless of any future updates or changes made to their core values. So most importantly, design tokens allow for a design system to have a single source of truth and create consistency through a set of standards. So this means that any components built with these styles allow for design at scale with consistency built in. So some recipes have a cult following, and that's for a very good reason. So we knew going into this refactor that borrowing from common patterns and looking to best practice examples would allow our design system to meet our user needs. So like a lot of recipes, they start with the same base ingredients: garlic, salt, oil, salt, and onion. Salt, twice.
A lot of salt. You like it salty.
So we also knew that a focus of the refactor was increasing accessibility compliance to WCAG AA compliancy. So through small but distinct changes, we've been able to design Ripple to a point of accessibility compliance out of the box. So to talk to specific examples, underlines have been added to interactive elements to ensure that one of the success criteria, which is 1.4.1, use of colour, is met. So this ensures that colour is not the only visual means of conveying information or indicating an action. We've also looked at touch targets, so they've been increased on all interactive elements to allow for easier navigation on both touchscreens and desktop environments. So a good example of this is the components such as radio buttons and checkboxes. So they've both been increased in size to support this, as well as the addition of the space around these elements are included in the targets, so that both and better increases the support for the target size and usability. And then also the focus state. So the focus state helps users understand which element is currently selected and ready for interaction. So we've designed this focus state colour to be the direct opposite of the primary colour. So this allows all colourblind users to see a visual difference regardless of their colourblind type. So in addition to that colour change, we've also used border thickness changes to ensure accessibility compliance regardless of the background or surrounding elements of the components. So we've created 3 different applications of the focus state to support flexibility, allowing for still consistency in the application across all of the different components. So you can see there we've got the button, which uses the block or the field style, and then we've also got the form elements that use an outline style. So whilst they are different, there is still quite a high level of visual consistency. So as we said earlier, a key area of the focus was improving site theming capabilities. So previously we weren't able to support the branding needs of the Victorian Government. So we needed to balance the need for a consistent user experience while still allowing for brand flexibility. So this was done through the creation and implementation of our theme framework and those design tokens. So design tokens inform how colour is used and how components inherit them to ensure a consistent and accessible user experience. So we designed a colour testing process, so any selected brand colours will always pass required accessibility contrast ratios. So it classifies a brand colour as either light or dark, and then the framework will automatically provide accessible colour contrast pairings. So the theme framework was really put to the test. We created multiple versions of the same design, allowing for both flexibility and consistency in the application of the design system. So this process further allowed us to iterate on that theming framework guidance and the levels of flexibility and brand application was needed for some sites and colour palettes to be accurately represented. So then after all this, we created a proof of concept, and that allowed us to test the viability of the design system. So a small subset of components was used in our testing environment to test out the scalability and flexibility of the base styles, allowing us to iterate where necessary.
Cool. And then we moved on to our migration. So with our proof of concept complete, the design system was coming together and we needed to start our migration. The design system was placed into beta and was released on our core product platform, which is vic.gov.au. With our design system in our live environment, it helped us to understand any iterations that were needed before we started the migration of our 50+ sites. Probably just important to note, these 50+ sites are what we refer to as independent sites. They're sites that have their own branding and as such need to be represented differently to vic.gov.au. So within our migration process, we undertook a site customization review. So we conducted size and complexity estimations to categorize and plan the release order of our sites. So any sites that had custom components or patterns were compared against the new design system. Components or patterns that were similar to Ripple 2 were refactored into the Ripple 2 styles. This process allowed us to deprecate 12 custom components and migrate their contents into core components. The review, however, also identified discrepancies and additional client requirements. So as such, we had to build 13 additional custom features and 17 custom content types to meet these client requirements. Then we started our migration rollout. So to ensure our clients came on the journey with us, we have multiple communication channels for project updates. So these included countless client meetings, discussions, emails, written updates. We also created website theming presentation packs, which showed the mock-up of the new theme applied to the site. And as you can see from left to right, the first one we've got here is Fire Rescue Victoria. then we've got the local government inspectorate, and we've got the Commission for Gender Equality, it's just cut off, within the VPS. So all of these, as you can see, they have different look and feels. They use the same Ripple framework. We just change the colours and the images and the logos to be able to represent a different brand while keeping consistent. So our clients really appreciated these, as there are slight differences between Ripple 1 and Ripple 2 from a design perspective. So that gave them comfort knowing what they were going to get when the website went live. We also gave project milestone presentations at our community of practice. So SDP has an open invite to all SDP users across the Victorian Public Service to meet monthly. This is for updates about what's happening within the program, knowledge sharing and training. So we use this as a channel to be able to keep our clients up to date on what was happening with the migration, and they were greatly appreciated that. We also have a number of high-profile websites at SDP. So these are sites that have a high level of traffic, or they're quite sensitive to the Victorian public. So for these, some of them have complex interactions within them. And because we had overhauled the UX quite significantly in some areas for sites that had complex interactions, we created prototypes to show our clients what it would look like in the new website. So they were also really well received. Our clients really enjoyed understanding how it was going to work and operate, and really appreciated that we took the time to be able to show them what it would look like. We, of course, internally tested all of our migrated websites. So we have a dedicated testing team at SDP. Shout out to testers in the room. I think there's one. So we do automation testing, but we also do manual testing. So they were both completed as normal. But we also had the design team review all of the migrated websites for alignment to the themes. So we just made sure that everything was as per the presentation packs that we had passed on to our clients. We, of course, obtained written client approval before release, and we pushed the websites live. So all up, we migrated over 50 sites from Ripple 1 to Ripple 2. This included 32 search listings and 6 maps. A big part of our migration rollout was the creation of a design documentation website. So as designers, we know it takes more than just design to get a design system built, and designs like recipes can get put away on the shelf and ignored. As such, we needed to give the design system a seat at the table. So we gave a big focus to the design system documentation. We created a public-facing website which was targeted at designers and developers. A lack of this in Ripple 1 was a well-known gap that we had, and it was feedback they'd received from stakeholders when they were using Ripple to create their own sites. So this website is our recipe book. It's our source of truth for the Ripple design system. As I said, it's targeted for both internal users but also external stakeholders, because we have a lot of agencies that use Ripple to be able to create websites for the government, and it's targeted at designers, developers and content creators. It gives them guidance on what the design system offers and what is changing in the future, the rationale for why the design system has been built the way it has, and how to incorporate the design system into their work. It's also important to note that while Ripple has been implemented and is primarily used on the SDP CMS platform, which is Drupal, not Ripple, Drupal Remix, which is our main offering at SDP, it's designed in a way that it's not tied to one particular platform. So Ripple can be used by other departments and agencies to build their own platforms and technology. So we've got a couple of examples here. The one on the left is careers.vic. So this is the public-facing careers website for the Victorian Government. So this is developed and maintained by a completely separate different team to SDP, and this is their own custom platform that they've built on. On the right-hand side, we have a website called Supplier Hub, which is essentially a procurement website for suppliers to the Victorian Government, and this is built on ServiceNow.
Thank you. Perfect. And that brings us to the learnings. Oh no. Why isn't it working? Oh. Sorry. As with a lot of large projects, our original time estimates were undercooked. So our project did take longer to deliver than we originally estimated, and that was due to both the complexity of the project and also the vast expanse of stakeholders throughout the Victorian Public Service. So working in cross-functional teams to deliver a complex project also comes with its own complexities. So getting the team to not only agree on the design of a thing, but then to deliver that thing is pretty big. And teamwork really does take time, sometimes more than you think it will. But it does come down to communication, trust, and collaboration. So we were able to successfully refactor Ripple 1 to Ripple 2, improving accessibility, consistency of user experience, and designer documentation and experience. So the takeaway container from our refactor project can all be packaged up into 1, the importance of a successful business case and the project plan to ensure stakeholder and senior leadership endorsement. Number 2, design for scalability and flexibility from the ground up. So this will save you time and effort in the long run. And then 3, test early and often, iterate as the rollout happens and be flexible. Keep clients up to date with the progress and bring them along for the journey for a smoother rollout. So the design system refactor has allowed us to set standards to manage design at scale. So we've been able to reduce redundancy, create a shared language, and provide visual consistency, all while promoting efficiency and reuse through reusable styles, components, and patterns. So we've successfully increased the system's accessibility compliance to WCAG 2.1 AA out of the box from a design point of view. And overall, we've managed to create a beautiful design system that's fit for purpose for the Victorian Government. So to wrap it all up in our little recipe box analogy, so with Ripple, you're able to easily follow the design documentation with improved accessibility and branding options. There's no need to design your base. It comes with pre-made base styles for less effort and greater consistency. You can design your pages easily by swapping, adding or updating components to suit the needs of your project. It has frequent updates as it's a supported design system to keep in line with best practice and accessibility, and you're able to easily create amazing digital products that are always adhering to accessibility and Victorian Government design standards. So what is in the next box for us? So delivering sometime soon, we've got multi-step forms moved to 2.2 WCAG compliance out of the box, and also complex search. We've got a few other things on the right there. There are other initiatives that the team is working on. And that brings us to questions.
Any questions? Yes, Nick Santa.
Yeah.
So early in the presentation, you talked about this kind of process of design decay, legacy design, and kind of needing to clear the slate and start again.
Mm-hmm.
Is that inevitable, or what can you do? Is it possible to have a system that is dropping the craft as time goes on, or thoughts?
Dropping the what, sorry?
Like, are you able to continue to grow a design system without having to refactor it?
Yeah, I think that you definitely can. I think what the main issue that Ripple 1 had was the fact that the atomic principles had been lost for so long. By the time that this project was needed, it was unable to be
saved.
Yeah, it was quicker and easier, more efficient to actually just start fresh than it was to fix what was already there.
Also, it was built only as a standalone site, vic.gov.au. So these independent sites that we have, which we have over 50 of them, it was never in the original brief to be made for these. So yeah, we had that loss, I guess. Well, we didn't have any capability to be able to theme the site without hard coding the changes in, which was a significant overhead for us, and like Nick would know, a maintenance nightmare. So yeah, it just had to be remade. I guess as things scale, you sometimes need to invest more money in how you create and develop them. And SDP started as a startup within government, so it had a particular amount of money allocated to it. It was creating a POC for a particular purpose. It's now matured and moved past the point of a startup, and now it needs to have that robust infrastructure to be able to support the needs of the Victorian Public Service. Yes.
The recording mentioned about having a monthly SDP meeting on the Victorian Government. Is there a possibility of having it public? Let's say an unnamed organization is actually using a report.
I want to throw to Joe.
Yeah, Joe. Can other people outside of the Victorian Public Service attend the SDP
Community of Practice?
Community of Practice.
We will take the...
Cool.
Although if I can add
This is Anthony.
it may have limited value because community of practice is more about the entire SDP solution. So it's the Drupal CMS editing, and there is in Drupal a very bespoke connection between Drupal and our Drupal CMS, and it's more about how the public service uses that. It's not really a Drupal community of practice, it's SDP community of practice. But still talk to Jo, she loves talking to people.
Yeah. The target market for that is like VPS users who are administrating it, because we have, Joe, what's the number of current users we have for SDP across the VPS? 700 now. So yeah, we have quite a varied skill set of users that we need to, I guess, design and cater for from an administration point of view, and they're all publishing content either to vic.gov in a consolidated way in their own little areas, or they've got their own standalone sites that they're working on.
And if I can say that a bit more, there is a little, one of the things that we don't do well is there is a disconnect between what you see in the CMS in Drupal, which is very heavily based on paragraphs, and what renders in the front end. We have a preview capability, but it's not often clear to someone in the community of practice that, to get a listing of cars on the front end, I need to do this in the back end. So
there is good documentation though.
Yeah.
It's just like, I guess from a like UX perspective, out of the box, we don't have like a builder as such to be able to build pages. I guess what Anthony's getting at.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, the lady with the laptop. Sorry.
My question actually follows on quite well from the previous one. So in terms of visually representing the accessibility and usability compliance, I think that's quite clear given visually demonstrated, but what about non-visual accessibility and usability considerations like ARIA tags? How is that decided and then communicated to developers consistently?
That's a really great question. We've actually just done a full accessibility audit and review to get in line with 2.2, which has gone through all of the ARIA tags and everything. That is, whilst part of the design system, not part of the design section of the design system, the developers, the front-end developers are responsible for that part of it. But we have actually passed as such as you can, for all of that with all the base components and everything. So we have made sure that it's not just the design elements, it is actually the code base side of it. As a core offering components out of the box, it is accessibility compliant for all of those things as well.
Yeah, just noting that obviously accessibility compliance is also on a content editor as well to ensure they're writing correctly and they're setting everything up correctly, because we essentially design and develop the product for them to use. If they're using it in a way which is inaccessible, that unfortunately is the outcome. We're not the guard dog of accessibility for the Victorian Public Service. Each individual is responsible for that as a content publisher, and we do have a lot of training that we provide on that. But then again, it's the level of person's interest and aptitude to be able to do the training, right? So, yeah. Did you have a question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The public-facing site for the design system was awesome. How did you guys build that?
It's a really good question. My understanding is it's just markup files.
Okay.
And they're put in the code home, and then it appears.
Yeah, it's done through GitHub. There's no front-end developers here to assist in that. They did that.
But it is all just markup, was my understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a static site that's themed with the design system. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah, it looks great.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you.
Any other questions? Sorry, I'm trying to squint through the lights to see. No hands? Anyone yell out if you have a question or a follow-up question?
Or compliments.
Yeah. Yeah.
and then the markup is written manually based on the classes and components that are there. But Ripple itself is available on GitHub. It's still public, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Yeah, base Ripple repo. If you search for Ripple, it's DPC-SDT. So Ripple, you'll see it on GitHub.
We also.
It's great that is public. It's great to have that code in the public domain that people can see how it's written and see how it comes.
Yeah, it's open source as well, and anybody can use it for any reason. You don't have to be using it for Victorian Government purposes. So like Salsa, I don't know if there's any Salsa people in the room, but they use Ripple, I don't know if it's 2 or 1 as their agency website. So they've used that for that purpose. So if you want to get in there and get cracking, feel free. There's a QR code up here if you want to sign up. We can give you access. We've got our Figma files as well. So you can go through those, have a nosy, have a play. Feel free to email us and give us feedback. We're always looking to improve. Yeah. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.